Fox Sports will be using virtual crowds for its coverage of Major League Baseball this year. PGA ratings are up for the Memorial. All that and more on my latest podcast, The Sports Media Beat, episode number 50. And they said it wouldn't last.
Welcome to the Sports Media Beat with your host, Dan Lovala.
We are putting this podcast together on Thursday, July 23rd, and it's opening day for the Major League Baseball season. Who would have thunk it? July 23rd, opening day. Normally, they're in the second half of the season at this point. But it's opening day, the season obviously delayed because of COVID-19. But there are stories out that Fox Sports is going to be, when it broadcasts or telecasts its Major League Baseball games, it's going to be using virtual crowds. Now, what's a virtual crowd? Well, they're superimposing, from a computer standpoint, these crowds so that when you're watching the game on TV, the ballpark will look as if it's filled. I don't know how you feel about this. I have mixed reaction. I'll get to that in just a moment. But as you know, and I talked about this on my baseball podcast, The Baseball Beat, which you can subscribe to in all the podcast directories and also go to thebaseballbeat.com. How's that for a cross-promotion? But the New York Mets used cardboard cutouts of fans for its exhibition game against the New York Yankees. I thought that was kind of neat. You knew it was a fake crowd, cardboard. And I had suggested on my baseball podcast that what baseball ought to do is, for charity, have fans send in a picture, a facial, along with a donation to a charity of the ball club's choice or a player's choice, and they could raise money, and then you could superimpose that fan's face on one of the cutouts. I think it would be neat. But Fox is going the extra step, and it's going to appear as if there are actually fans in the stands. Now, the more things change, the more they stay the same, because the back in the day, I'm talking about the 30s and the 40s, when baseball was on the radio, the broadcasters broadcast the home games from the ballparks, but they did not go on the road with the teams, and they would broadcast the road games in a radio station's studio, and they would get what was happening at the game by way of teletype. And they would then, once they got what happened by way of teletype, broadcast it to the fans. Well, some radio stations were innovative enough to pump in this crowd noise or the crack of the bat, sound effects, to make it appear as if the broadcaster was actually at the ballpark. Well, Red Barber, who I once interviewed, again for my baseball podcast, he's in the baseball wing of the Sportscasters Hall of Fame, or the broadcasters wing of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, Red Barber, he didn't go for that. He just wanted the fans to know that here he was in the studio, nothing fake. He wasn't out at the ballpark in Cincinnati or out at the ballpark in Chicago. He was doing a Brooklyn Dodgers road game from the radio station studio, and you could hear the teletype ticking in the background. And that's how Red did the game. He didn't want to be fake about it. Of course, we live in this different world in 2020 in so many ways, but President Reagan, the late President Reagan, started out as a sportscaster on WHO in Iowa, and he did the recreation of ball games, and he fondly told the story numerous times when he was president. If the ticker went out, if the teletype machine went out or the ticker machine went out, then he would simply have the player foul off about 15 or 20 pitches before the ticker started to operate again, and then he would go on to describe the action. President Reagan really was ahead of his time broadcasting games off the teletype, because now you don't have to fake it that a batter is fouling off 15 or 20 pitches. He seems to do that anyway. With these long at-bats, no faking about it. In this day and age, a 15 or 20 pitch at bat is not as rare as when Reagan, when he was broadcasting games off the ticker, would have a player foul off a pitch because the teller type machine or the ticker machine went down. So I don't know how I feel about that. I had no problem. I watched the Yankees-Mets exhibition games, a couple of them, over the weekend, and I had no problem with no fans in the stands. You get focused on the game. Yeah, they want to pump a little crowd noise into the ballpark. I get it. I can accept that. I understand that. But the situation is such as Fox is going to have these virtual crowds. Also, Fox is going to do the Yankees-Nationals game on Saturday, July 25th. And Joe Buck and John Smoltz, the lead broadcast crew, will actually be in separate studios. Buck will be in Denver and Smoltz will be in New Jersey. And that's how they're going to broadcast the game. They'll be nowhere near the Washington Nationals ballpark. It's the new normal. And I'm going to make a prediction here because we see the new normal happening in so many other areas because of COVID-19. It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me if the day comes when, just from a cost-effective standpoint, you're going to see these broadcasters do games from the studio. They'll just sit in front of a monitor and broadcast the games. They used to do that years ago, not all the time, but when CBS would broadcast an NFL doubleheader, there were times. And this was when their lead broadcast crew was Jack Whitaker on play-by-play and Frank Gifford on commentary. They would be in the studio, and they would watch the game off of a monitor, the second game of the doubleheader, and broadcast it off of a monitor. So this is nothing new. This has been going on for a long time. But I think in this world where you've got suits who are always looking at the bottom line, they might say, well, why are we paying these guys or gals? Why are we paying them to go on the road with the team and then pay for their hotel room, pay for their transportation, give them meal money, but all we have to do is have them come to the studio and sit in front of a monitor and broadcast the game? It really is a throwback to what happened in the 30s and 40s when broadcasters didn't travel with the team. So it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. And we're going back 80 years here. Talked on one of the podcasts not too long ago that the NFL more than likely would cancel its preseason, and now more and more reports are coming out that the NFL will cancel its preseason for 2020, and broadcasting is going to take a hit because of that. By the way, getting back to baseball for just a moment, and we have mentioned on previous sports media beats how the COVID-19 is affecting so many broadcasters. Tim McCarver's not going to be doing games this year of the St. Louis Cardinals. Neither are Gary Thorne or Jim Palmer on the Baltimore Orioles telecasts. And that is age-related because they fall in that area where they're more at risk age-wise. Well, now comes word that Jeff Francoeur, former Atlanta Braves player, and an analyst on Braves telecasts. Well, and he does a fantastic job, by the way. He was diagnosed with COVID-19. He announced this on Twitter this past Tuesday, July 21st. He's tested positive for the disease and is currently asymptomatic and quarantining, so he won't be calling games with Chip Caray and Tom Glavine until he is cleared to return to the booth. So we wish him a speedy recovery. PGA Tour ratings, the Memorial, this past weekend. That was in Dublin, Ohio, the Jack Nicklaus Golf Course. Tremendous ratings. Sunday's final round of the Memorial averaged a 2.1 rating and 3.23 million viewers on CBS. This made this the largest audience for the event in 5 years, going back to 2015. So the tour getting great ratings on Sunday. The Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix averaged a .42 rating and 703,000 viewers on ESPN Sunday morning. That's up 24% in the ratings, 32% in the viewership from last year. On Saturday, NBC Sports Network averaged a .63 rating, 973,000 viewers for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Texas, up 5%. Finally, IndyCar's Iowa doubleheader averaged a .21 rating, 334,000 viewers on Friday, and a 2.3 rating, 356,000 viewers on Saturday. Last year's lone Iowa race began around midnight Eastern Time due to rain and averaged 156,000 viewers. World Team Tennis averaged a .34 rating, 484,000 viewers on CBS Sunday. That's up 10% of the ratings, 18% in the viewership from the same weekend last year. And Saturday's Breeders' Cup Challenge Haskell Invitational averaged a .51 rating, 732,000 viewers on NBC. And that trailed the weather-delayed coverage last year. The weather-delayed coverage last year actually got more viewers. How about that? On the broadcasters front, Turner Sports has picked its announcers for the NBA's planned season restart at Walt Disney World. Here's what we know. Turner announced on Tuesday that Kevin Harlan and Ian Eagle will serve as TNT's play-by-play voices at Walt Disney World, and they'll work alongside analysts Reggie Miller and Stan Van Gundy. TNT plans to use only the two broadcast teams throughout the remainder of the regular season. Fox Sports makes it official, announcing this week that it has hired ex-ESPN play-by-play voice Adam Amin. He will serve in the same capacity on its NFL coverage, college basketball coverage, and Major League Baseball games. So that's a nice promotion and a new job for Adam Amin at Fox Sports. Finally, ESPN has reached a multi-year contract extension with radio host Freddie Coleman. It was announced on Tuesday. Coleman, who has been with ESPN Radio since 2004, will continue hosting his primetime ESPN radio show along Ian Fitzsimmons. Some of what's making news in the area of sports broadcasters. I can't help but mention this story. It's on the website Sportico.com, written by Anthony Krupe, how COVID-19 has really affected the ratings, particularly in the 18 to 49 demographic. The 18 to 49 demo has seen a 41% decline in viewership over the big four networks. And one of the reasons is because they're not watching sports. So that means sports is taking a hit. But this is overall what I'm talking about. The 18 to 49 demo, a 41% decline in viewership. That's an enormous decline. And you know what happens? And you know what makes the network suits nervous? You're not going to get them back. That certainly has them very concerned that, well, are we going to get these people back? Are they going to watch? And once they find out that there are other things you can do, that has a lot of people nervous because of the paradigm under which they operate. They operate on a subscription basis. And if you cancel the subscription, the revenue's not coming in. Anyway, in the piece, as I said, written by Anthony Krupe, taking the biggest hit among the broadcasters is ABC, which, having been denied its annual presentation of the NBA Finals, is down 54% of the demo since the summer TV campaign began. ESPN taking a hit. So's Fox. Fox normally carries the All-Star game, and that's a ratings winner. Even though the baseball ratings aren't as strong as they used to be, it's still a ratings winner in the summertime for Fox carrying the All-Star game. There is no All-Star game this year. NBC took a hit. NBC Sports carries the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. That's a ratings winner. The finals have taken a 39% bite out of NBC's 18 to 49 audience, writes Krupe. And the Kentucky Derby. No Kentucky Derby on NBC this year. Well, that's a loss of 37%. So, I mean, that's a big, big loss for these networks. And CBS not affected as much, but CBS did not have the Masters and won't have the Masters until November. So they're taking a hit at least early in the year because there was no Masters in April. Krupe goes on to write, as one might expect, the sports-reliant cable channels have taken their lumps alongside the rabbit ears gang. In May alone, TNT saw its average primetime audience wither 72% to just 702,000 viewers per night, down from 2.51 million, while ESPN's deliveries slumped 64% to 670,000 viewers, down from 1.88 million. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers out here, but let me repeat that. TNT, normally 2.51 million viewers, down to 702,000 viewers. ESPN, normally 1.88 million viewers, down to 670,000 viewers. My point being, you do take a hit. And the big concern again, particularly among this important demographic, the demographic that appeals to advertisers because they spend money, the 18 to 49 demo, the big concern is you might not get them back. That's why you see all this effort towards streaming, the younger demo going towards streaming. But even in that area, they might take a hit. You throw in the economy, you do the math, well, maybe you're not spending as much money on your subscriptions because you have to pay the electricity bill, or you have to pay the heat bill, or you have to pay the rent, or you have to pay the mortgage. We are going through trying times, to say the least. Anyway, the baseball season gets underway, and it's going to start on Thursday night, July 23rd, the night that actually I'm doing this podcast. And we'll see how the ratings do. It's going to be interesting, but we are in uncharted waters, as they say. That's going to do it for the Sports Media Beat. This is episode number 50, by the way. They said it wouldn't last. Episode number 50 of the Sports Media Beat. As always, thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for subscribing. We are in the Apple's podcast directory. We are in Google's podcast directory, Overcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, all of the major podcast directories. So thanks for listening to the Sports Media Beat. I'm Dan Lovallo.